Top of the morning, tip of the hat, get with a Mac. Fresh fruit, flute playing, I'm playing the back. Backstroke a sink, it don't even wet it. She laying out on the beach, photosynthetic. They playing out with their bottom grills gold. I'm acting fast, stacking up my billfold, so real. I'm rapping on jet lag, last leg of the race, about to get that bag, yeah. Hey. Yeah, you know, I'm operating in Alpha Wave right now, live from Alpha Centauri. Thank you for joining me. Sometimes you just gotta create a mental picture. Mental pictures matter. Top of the morning, tip of the hat, get with a Mac, fresh fruit, flute playing, I'm playing the back. Backstroke a sink. Don't even wet it. She laying out on the beach, photosynthetic. Whatever that means to you, whatever that means to me, it may mean nothing to nobody. But oftentimes, you can help yourself achieve certain heights if you just speak visually, you know? Maybe, and it's not always just speak visually, but you need to have visuals around you. Sketch things that you'd like to see. Because the mind is so simple. The mind will grow what you put in its soil. The mind will operate off of certain, it's like the most fertile soil ever. Right? So I think that, you know, social media be floating terms around. And one of the terms that social media floats around is, you know, you hear affirmations, daily affirmations. And I love that. I love that for us, that we're affirming where we are. But let's take that a little further. Think about what you're wearing right now. Or even if you're wearing nothing, think about the lotion or the oil you got on. There was some point where you were without that, and then you said, if I have this shirt, these shoes, this hat, whatever, I'm going to put it on. Hey, at some point you was like, man, shit, I'm going to put that shit on and I'm going to feel this way. And then you got in the mirror probably before you purchased it or as you was trying it on. The fitting room gets all the antics, right? You probably put that joint on, you walked in front of the mirror, you do your bow. This is how I'm going to be feeling. Oh, they're going to have to deal with me. Oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? They're going to have to do this. Baby, I'm feeling good. You know, matter of fact, I'm going to come back and purchase that. Hey, put that on hold, ma'am. You got me? Okay, what's your name? Yeah, put it on Grindstone. That's my name. Yep, I'm going to be back. I just got to, you know. I don't care if it's an outfit, home accessories, you know, or it could even be like a toy of your choice, like you know, a car, you know, a bike, a toolkit, whatever. You imagine yourself doing something with the thing first, and then bow. Look at you now. You're wearing those clothes now. You're wearing the outfit now. You know, you're popping your shit in it as you thought you were when you was gone, before you had it. You made a vision. That vision grew. And here you are. Even if you're watching this right now laying in a puddle of castor oil, you was like, oh, I'm going to get this skin right. We going to be glowing. And here you are. Slippery as a seal. Glowing. Watching me. Welcome to episode 61 of Sorry for My Language. Yeah. Yeah. I love it when the horns come on in that song because it's just such a celebratory thing, you know? So, you know, Sorry for My Language. It's my lifestyle, philosophy, culture, and music show. All things gonna get discussed. And it's very important to include all things under the umbrella in which you're most comfortable discussing and talking about things that you probably be talking about anyway. But you know, it's probably gonna take forever for your book to come out. It takes different resources to record your album. So, you just gotta sit in front of somebody and just chop your shit. Just pop your game, And so that's why I enjoy the fact that I finally was able to narrow this down to what am I doing? Man, this is a lifestyle philosophy, culture, and music show. And speaking of music, I got a great album that I want to share with you. So for those of you all who saw The City of Gods, at the end of the movie, it was a song. I think it was, what was at the end of the movie? I can't remember when. I can't remember like exactly what part, but it goes doom bum ba ba lom bang, and it's just like this dope ass Brazilian tune or whatever. I'm not doing it no justice by doing what I just did. But let me put you up on a good album, right? Quiz Nick, and it's gonna take you out of your monotony of the listening that you've been doing, trying to chart chase. All right, so like whatever you find music on, whether it's, I don't know, whatever streaming platform, or if record store or old schooler who got hella tape CDs, you could be on any one of the DSPs. Anyway, check this album out. It's called World Psychedelic Classics, number 4. Nobody Can Live Forever, the existential sound of Tim Maia. And his name is spelled, his last name is M-A-I-A, Tim Maia. So just check that out. When you hear it, boom, bum, doo, long, bang. His album, and matter of fact, the title is interesting because it kind of relates to what I'm talking about today. This is really interesting for a whole nother reason. Hold up. I never even tripped off this, but it's called Nobody Can Live Forever. Now, when I think about that, hold up. Now, you might have heard this in, let me see if I can let you hear this. You might have heard this in City of Gods, peep it. Oop. Hold up. You heard that song? The crazy thing, I want to get this title right for you, though. Hold up. And this music does a whole number on Ya Mans and them. Damn, the title's so damn long, it don't even fit in the shit. But the World Psychedelic Classics 4, Nobody Can Live Forever, the existential sound. Now, one reason why I'm kind of sprung on that, and I just peeped the title, I wasn't even tripping, but Nobody Can Live Forever, I have an album out by Grindstone and on all the DSPs. I mean, just Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon, Deezer. It's hell of them. There's about 20 of them where you can stream music, even YouTube. Follow me. Follow Grindstone. Because my shit is like that. So just look up Grindstone on your shit right now. Follow me. I have hella albums out, hella music. And it'll be well worth your time finding it. But the fact that it's called Nobody Lives Forever, or whatever I just said the title of that joint was, the name of my next album is called Does the Past Still Exist? So I think when you get to a certain point of being open-minded enough to say, yeah, I don't really know, but I want to know, you start asking yourself questions about what exists. Like, what is it really, And you're not too bold to say you don't know. And I think that's a very healthy place to exist, because it's these motherfuckers out here thinking that they know everything that got everybody confused. And so they say everything all firm and like they're not human. And then next thing you find out, they're human. You find out that like Santa Claus was a lie. And you're like, yo, all this time I thought you I thought you knew Santa. You was lying to me. So yeah, I think it's big to just question things like that. But outside of that, when you talk about music, when you talk about sound, when you talk about creating vision, when you talk about different things of that nature, you, we, I have the ability to surround ourselves purposefully with certain things and program our brain to grow particular realities. Yes. So today's episode of Sorry for My Language is about neuroscience, the science of the brain, the way the brain functions, what makes the factory of the brain the mind. The brain is an organ. You know, you could peep a brain sitting on a surgical table at any medical school today, and it's just this it looks like a octopus without legs. You know, it's just a thing. Looks like coral or something, soft coral. But when you think about what makes the brain the mind, that's when we're getting down to the grease and gristle. So now, if you were to ask yourself, enough. So if you were to ask yourself, what's the difference between the brain and the mind, or where do they intersect? Like, what would you say? What would your answer for that be? What's the difference between the brain and the mind? And honestly, I think that's kind of a cool question because they don't operate independently, but the mind operates in different parts of your body, not just in your brain. But today, let's deal with the neuroscience, which is the science of the brain. Now, the brain has different areas in it that send brain waves at different frequencies. And let me tell you what a frequency is. Everybody uses the word frequency, but the word frequency is really specific to waves. Okay, now let's talk about waves. So we could talk about frequency. We could talk about what different frequencies do, just in case you don't know. So whether it's a radio wave, a wave in the ocean, a wave in your hair, a wave has a length, right? So here's a wave. Like, say this is the surface. Yeah, that's not even good. But fuck it. This is going to be easier than complicated. A wave goes like this. Like, say this is the surface. A wave goes up, down, up, down. That's a wave, right? Simple. That's a wave. The measurement of the wavelength is from this part to this part. Or it could be from this part to this part. That equals a wave. And the distance between those parts is called a wavelength, right? So if you think about the waves in the ocean, the length of the wave determines the intensity or the softness of the wave, or what is contained in the wave that could travel in choppy water or what could travel in the water smooth. That's a wavelength, okay? The rate at which atoms vibrate is called, that determines the wavelength. How often a wave occurs in its wavelength, another way you could say it is how frequently it occurs, and how frequently it occurs, that is the frequency. So when people are saying just the term frequency in anything, it's how often a wave occurs. Okay? It's the wavelengths. I hate to use the word in the definition, but it's the wavelengths frequency, how frequently a wave happens, right? So if it happens like this, from there to there is this much space in it. Now you could calculate that by hertz. That's like one measure of energy intensity, or you can calculate that by whatever you choose to. Okay. But whatever you choose to, that's the frequency. That's how frequently it happens. So if the wave happens like this, it happens way more frequently. So it's a higher frequency. So it works like that in sound. In the electromagnetic spectrum, many of you might have heard about that. Yeah, we talking science. Oops. We drop it. We got to drop science every now and then, right? So the electromagnetic spectrum is the spectrum that measures the frequency of waves as far as we've studied waves. So it goes from like nano waves to microwaves to radio waves to sound waves to light waves. And it, like, as the waves are smaller, they give way to a different perceivable energy. So, you know, you might have the microwaves way down here. And then I can't remember what was next, if it's sound waves or light waves. I can't remember, but all you got to do is look up electromagnetic spectrum. And it'll take you through like which ones, as it goes smaller to large, which waves, which atomic vibrations causing a wave frequency will allow you to see things, feel things, or hear things, right? So in the things that we're able to see, you're able to see in the light spectrum, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, indigo. So those are the colors, and the smaller the wavelength, those are the red ones. They, like, the frequencies are quicker, I guess you could say. And then as you get to the indigo, they get a little more stretched out. Okay, and then I think from that point you get into sound, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. Anyway, all that to be said is that in the brain has centers in it. I hope I don't knock down these Giuseppe Zanotti. So by the way, my elbow just hit these joints. These shoes, people have been asking me about these shoes. These shoes right here are, they asked me what are they really? These shoes are Giuseppe Zanotti's. Hey, I got the hook up on several beauties coming from all those different little fancy places that all y'all talk about. And I just have these up here to let you know that you go to grindstoneuniversal.com and get the shopping. I want you to start in the website, really go to either the trending section of grindstoneuniversal.com or go to the section that says ultra rare. And then you'll be able to find shit like this. Once I push shit like that up, I'm not even gonna tell you what I got, but I got like a lot of dope shit. I got taste, you know? Come on. Taste with connections is endless. But anyway, back to these mind waves and the way that we can craft our thinking, the way that we can plant our seeds in order to make our thoughts become reality. Let me tell you. So you know how they do seeding of the clouds to make it rain different places? I'm sure y'all heard of that. They sprinkle shit in the clouds with helicopters and crop dusters and chemicals and shit to make the weather be a certain thing, to determine what crops could grow and all that. We could do that with our minds. And we won't just be playing games in our head. We'll actually be having like a free play in real life. So in your mind, you have waves that are created in a certain part of your mind. They're called beta waves. You got beta. Those are the highest frequency. Highest frequency doesn't mean, and I think this is where the slang done fucked it up. Like, he's high frequency, he's low vibration. She's high. That shit doesn't mean better or worse. Okay. Actually, in this case, the higher the frequency, that means you have more thoughts per second or more thoughts per minute. I can't remember if it's per second, per minute, but you just have more thoughts let's say per minute, right? Which lends itself to frantic, anxiety-ridden behavior, but it's sometimes good for quick decision-making, survival, fight or flight. All right, that's the beta. High frequency, a lot of brainwave activity happening. But you're kind of, if you live in your beta frequency mind, you are activated by everything. It's like being on coffee and you're on the subway and it's rush hour and it's raining and you got to do all this shit at once. So it's kind of frantic and it doesn't give itself a lot of space for creativity or emotion beyond the moment. It deals more with let's get this done. That's the beta mind. Now, the alpha mind is a little lower frequency. Remember what frequency is how often wavelengths occur, right? So it's not like where the frequency of the beta is, without the beta mind is like pew, 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 pew. The alpha mind is more, it's more dolphin-like, you know? So that's kind of that place where you find yourself a little more kicked back. And you know, when you kick back, you get those good ideas. You know, you get the real good ideas where you're like, man, peanut butter and chocolate. You know, them shits go together. I remember a good idea I had in my beta state. It was like, man, Hennessy and apple juice. And then I was drinking Hennessy and apple juice for a little season there. And that shit hit. I don't know why people didn't put that together. Like, man, Hennessy and apple juice. Now, you probably fuck around and get diabetes off of it because the thing that makes it good is it's sweet. But that was like an alpha wave thought. You know, I was chilling and I came up with something that might smack, right? When people tend to kick back, relax, take themselves to observe a sunrise or a sunset, or, you know, just go find their little place, sit out in the garden, maybe even do some gardening. They kick themselves out of this beta shit where they're thinking, like, you know, you might have the television on and like, buy this, buy that. The soap opera is saying so-and-so sad. They breaking up. What? Breaking news, right? That's your beta shit. That's good for the fleeting moment. But for the good idea, for the bigger thought to happen, you need to be in alpha mode. Tune that shit down a little bit. Go wash your face with some sunlight, you know? Go put your feet in the grass. Then you get the better ideas. You get you get the ones that spring from you instead of the ones that you're forced to make. That's that beta shit. And so you got alpha, pew, 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 pew. Then you got beta, shoom. No, you got beta, pew, 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 pew. Then you got alpha, a little slower, a little smoother, right? Then you got theta, okay? Hold up. Hold on. Hold on. And then there's theta. And then there's theta. Hi, Mort. No, hi, Orson. This is Mort for Mort. I'm in theta mode. 909. Theta is the place where the special things happen. So think about when you're asleep or when you're about to fall asleep and you might, who knows, you might be anywhere. You might be in the car, on the couch, laying in bed, whatever, and you're dozing off. And then you have this idea or this feeling where you're not all the way asleep, but you're definitely not all the way awake. And something so supernatural happens that you might start talking to somebody in the room about some shit that's not even in the room. But it was some shit where you slipped off kind of into a dream and you're like, man, no, don't put the ribs under the dresser. And the person's like, wait, what are you talking about? You're like, oh, nothing. I was tripping. And they're like, you fall asleep? No, I ain't fall asleep. Don't nobody ever want to admit they fell asleep. Nah, I wasn't asleep. What you talking about? Don't put the ribs in the dresser for? Like, what was that? Well, that was you slipping into the theta wave state where the waves get a lot more calm. Even more calm than alpha. Alpha, you're totally awake the whole time, but you're kind of kicking back. You know, that place where you're kind of like, maybe you're going to take a nice drive. You could exist in a nice drive in alpha. Nice country, rural drive, just as far as you could go. Right? The good thoughts come. You're not so fucking reactive. You're not worried about things. Just kind of kicking it. Theta is when you take it a little further, and it's the portal of your supernatural mind. And this is the place where all of the thoughts, all of the experience that you have, they live here. This is the hard drive of your brain. Now, as far as if it's the cerebral cortex, the hippocampus, I don't know what part of the brain it is, but this is the storage unit. It's the ice chest of your brain. It's the locker, right? And the way you get the key to that locker of your theta brain is through meditation. Now, sometimes in meditation, you might be making an effort to meditate. But then sometimes meditation might sneak up on you. You know, like people get a runner's high, right? A lot of the times in a runner's high, you done fucked around and slipped into that theta state where it's just like a state of bliss where time doesn't exist, nothing exists but you in that moment, and sometimes you get out of that moment. And if you're awake and around people, people could call you delusional, right? And I know that with me in my theta state, I really fuck with it because I'm kind of able to access it at will. And that's where a lot of my great ideas come. As a matter of fact, just this morning, and it often happens like this, but not solely like this, but I was in my dream, in my morning dream, you know, it'd be that second sleep dream, where the one where you might have woke up because you had to go to the bathroom, but then you get that second sleep. Fire. Right, so I'm in my second sleep. And Wu-Tang had a song out. It might have been Raekwon and Ghostface. And this shit was like that. And I was like, oh, this shit is like that. So I'm listening to the song and I'm trying to sing along with the joint. But then it comes to mind, I don't know the words. I ain't never heard this song before. And then so I kind of look around. I'm like, uh-oh, am I dreaming? Is I'm dreaming? And sometimes I'm able to catch myself in a dream and I'm able to record it, right? At least part of it. If I really sit there with it, I'm able to fish that dream out of the theta state and bring it into waking consciousness. And so I do that with a lot of things. It's not just music, but a lot of times it happens with songs. But for me, it can happen with color combinations, solutions to a problem. It's kind of like taking mushrooms, right? It's where you get exposed to a certain truth that exists on this plane, but it hasn't yet been brought to the third dimension. It exists, but it just hasn't dropped on us yet, you know, but it does exist. It's not like a fake thought. It's a real thought. You just got to kind of fish it out. So the theta state is where a lot of wonderful things happen. And for those of you out there who do not dream or do not have lucid dreams, which are the dreams where you're involved and you could involve yourself and change the outcome, that's kind of like why they invented VR, the virtual reality glasses. And so you could experience that lucid theta state dream, even though there aren't your imaginations, but that's what the theta state is like when your brain is operating on these slower wavelengths, far fewer thoughts per second, because it's not so reactive, right? You just have these thoughts, and it's a certain sense of timelessness. That's where your genius is. That's where your connection to, we can say all the words we want, but your connection to God exists. And that's where you and God could really chop it up. You could get instructions and you could be guided around. And for those of you who dream a lot, that's what you're experiencing. So it would be really cool if you can start to trigger those dreams. And it doesn't have to be when you're asleep. You could fall into this state of being through meditation, through sitting in a quiet, desirable place purposely alone and focus on the energy moving through your body and just slowly get in touch with that existence that lives within and outside and all around you and governs all the shit that you do. That's where your brilliance is. So the next one is the what's that joint called? The delta state, right? Now the delta state is, I feel like I'm doing the same damn thing with this. The delta state is the state of being where you're in a very deep sleep and your body goes through state of repair. And that's when your telomeres in your brain, where they extend and they get repaired, and a lot of repair happens. So when you think about these states of being, you start thinking about all the things that you do and how they affect your outcome. So when you're thinking about, dang, what did I just do? Hold up. I almost had this joint. Dang. When you're thinking about, hold up, let me get this right. Brother got to gather himself. Here we go, I guess. So when you're thinking about brain repair, right? When you're thinking about how do I approach the next day well, part of it you're responsible for, and that is your that is how you treat your telomeres. That is how you treat your brain through the act of rest. So rest is not just some shit because you don't feel like going out tonight. Rest is actually brain repair. And that brain repair is able to take you wherever you actually want to be. And it makes the process of learning how to heal yourself, learning how to visualize, learning how to harvest your thoughts, it makes that shit just that much more tangible to you. So I used to think, I don't get tired. I ain't going to I ain't resting for shit. I used to think that shit was cute or effective. Man, that shit is stupid. Damn it, I fucked up. Damn it. I was popping that joint so quick. And I tell you, this Rubik's Cube often takes me to the alpha state. It allows me to kick back a little more, even though what I just did just totally messed up my patterns. But yeah, the delta state is where you're in deep, deep sleep. Your thoughts per minute are very slow, and it's a wonderful place for you to heal and to grow. Okay, so with us knowing that we are now farmers of our own thoughts, let's look at it like this. What have you planted in your mind today that you want to grow? And what have you planted in your mind today that you don't want to grow? And what are you going to do to change your harvest? Because you've planted some things in your mind. It might have been like, I just wanted to see Charlemagne the God and DJ Envy. I was going to say DJ the Envy. I guess if he was Italian, you'd be like DJ the Envy. But I just wanted to see what they was talking about this morning. Okay, that's cool. That's all the way cool. But what did you plant in your mind by doing that? Like what came of that? Because no action is a neutral one. Every action set forth takes its damn course. So I just want you to evaluate that. I don't have any horse in the race. It doesn't matter to me what you planted. But the question is, do you know what you've done? And that's the important part. And if you want it to go another way, do you know what to do to get it to go another way? Are you going to sit there? Because there are 2 times a day where we can actually, where it's kind of like the rim of life gets lowered a little bit so we could dunk, you know? And so that time is in the morning, around sunrise, and that time is in the evening. Evening is a little longer. Evening is when you can either, it's either right before you go to bed, or let me not say bed, right before you go to sleep, or it's as the sun is setting. But it is only as the sun is setting if you were sitting with your circadian rhythms and you're going to go to sleep like when close to when the sun goes down. But otherwise, that's not when it is for you. So what are you going to do at those daily times of reset? What visions are you going to put forth before you go into your deep sleep mode, or like as you wake up mode? Because those are the times when you affect the change. So then the question is, what do you wake up to? Day after day, is there a pattern of what you wake up to? If so, like, what is it? Share it with yourself, because yourself wants to know. Yourself is like, self, what the fuck do we be doing every day? Like every morning we wake up and we lightweight be on some bullshit. But what are we planting? And the thing about planting these crops is that they spring up way quicker than like seasonal harvest. So if you start thinking one way, that shit is gonna grow. But you are the farmer. And so, you know, I do think, honestly, and I'm guilty of it as well, I do think I think that like a lot of the podcasts that happen, you know, they might be talking about gangster business or who did what to who or all that shit. I can't say that they're there to ruin us, but I can say that we are in such a state of ruining ourselves that we just accept being ruined, and our remains are all over the algorithm. And then you see our remains in the damn street. Like literally, it's taped off. So how are you dealing with your beta, alpha, theta, delta brain waves? How are you farming that? What is your sunrise? What does your wake up in the morning look like? What does your evening look like? What do the things around you visually look like? What, I don't know, the paintings, the words, the sounds. You know, what are the things around you that you are planting in your brain so then they can grow? They're gonna grow whether you like it or not. Okay, if you plant, they will grow. If you, whatever you point your pineal at, that's what's gonna happen. I got a song. It's called 4 Women, the number 4 women. And I think before I even knew what I was talking about, the lyrics came to me. But I said, you are what you point your pineal at. The third eye prints a 3D copy. Once you see all that, human idolatry. No, I don't need all that. And I don't remember the rest. You are what you point your pineal at. Third eye prints a 3D copy. Once you see all that, human idolatry. No, I don't need all that. Blah, blah, blah. The shit is dope, though. So go listen to 4 Women by Grindstone. I just be, yo. I create a lot of shit, man. And honestly, if you know creative people, a lot of the times they exist in the theta or alpha state a lot. So it's crazy because you have type A and type B personalities. The type A motherfuckers, they're the ones stressing shit. They're anxious. They take everything personally. They're cool to be around a lot of times because they organize a lot of shit. But then they're the ones who are kind of like a drag to be around because, I don't know, they're really wrapped up in their ego and shit. But we still need a balance because it's tough to be around the dreamer all the time. And not the dreamer saying the hopeful one, but the one who lives in the theta or the theta or alpha state. It's just tough to be around that person because a lot of times they might have the idea, but they might not be getting the shit done, right? The mix is necessary. But the way, me, for instance, the way that I live, what I have realized is that I can't always have a good balance. Sometimes I have to be in the alpha and theta state, sometimes for fucking weeks. And it's so bad for business, because business needs somebody to be like, let's do this today. Let's do that. Write that. Send that. Did you do that? Did you do that? And so a lot of the times the person with the business, a lot of times the person with the gift is not the person who exercises the best business acumen. And then when I'm on my beta shit and I'm really doing all the shit, the charts, the graphs, let's do this, do that. I'm not fucking creating, right? But what I've just figured out is I gotta use different parts of my brain to do this shit, and I have to use these different parts of my brain intentionally. So it's like I gotta walk in different portals and push different buttons. It's not just like I could just control it without thinking about doing the shit, right? So with that, I guess my wake up and my go to sleep thoughts have to be different because I command a different ship. I run a business. If I don't work or get fucking lucky, I don't eat. Sheesh. And I know y'all love the light and the Wi-Fi signal and the computer being plugged in so I could bring this to you. I know you loving on that, right? But it'd be that beta state, that high frequency shit that brings in the, you know? But yeah, when we talk about high frequency, low vibrational, high vibrational, we gotta remove it from thinking that a low vibrational or low frequency thing means that it's a trash thought. The terminology, it just stuck, but it's not true. The lower the frequency, it depends on what you're talking about, but if it's the brain, it means the more restorative and the more creative it is. That's what happens at low frequency brainwaves. So, all that to say, I would like for you all to be able to use the wonderment, the tools of your brain, and get from stop playing. That's not a pause. Okay? That's not a damn pause. I want you all to be able to use the wonderment of your brain. Go from the beta to alpha to theta to delta states of your brainwaves, and even look the shit up. Now I gave you books to read, right? This is something that you can use as a reference point to know the mind that's inside of the brain, that's inside of your skull. Okay, now you'll know I'm giving you information on your engine. Go do the research. Go figure the shit out. Go really work your hand. Figure out what it is that makes you work optimally. And if you're like a really stressed out, the world is so against me type motherfucker, you're probably operating as just a beta ass biatch. And you need to get get them other brain parts involved. You're probably a great person, but you're just not using all your toolery. So I hope this episode on neuroscience, on Sorry for My Language, has really helped you. I'm here to make you a better person. I'm here to make myself a better person. Actually, I'm not even here to make you a better person, but if this does make you a better person, then I'm glad that we engaged. Once again, thank you for coming to Sorry for My Language. It's a lifestyle philosophy, culture, and music show. I would love for you to harvest your best harvest by planting your best crop in your mind. Sunrise before you go to bed. And somewhere in there, go to grindstoneuniversal.com. I'm Grindstone. Peace.